Well, good day, and welcome to this trailer for the EAA International Conference and Awards session for the 8th of June. And I'm delighted to have with me our keynote presenter, Mary Richardson, who is Associate Professor of Educational Assessment at the Institute of Education at the University College London. And she's going to be keynote speaking at this conference. And we're just going to have a chat for a minute or two. So first of all, Mary, just tell me a little bit about you, your background, and what you're doing at the moment.
Hi, Graham, and thanks very much for inviting me along. So, as you said, I'm an associate professor based at UCL at the Institute of Education. I'm in the Department for Curriculum Pedagogy and Assessment. So my little research group forms the assessment bit of that. And we're a very small but perfectly formed group, and we run a master's in educational assessment too. So it's quite an unusual thing that we have going there, and it's got a nice history within the department here. And I suppose I've been in academia. I taught undergraduate for 10 years before the 6 years that I've been at UCL. But before that, I worked in assessment research for exam boards, and I did some work with DFE and QCA. So it goes back quite a way, about 20 years of being obsessed with assessment.
Well, that's great, and quite a pedigree there, Mary. Yeah, that's really good. So tell me, why did you agree to be a keynote speaker at our awards ceremony?
Well, it's always nice to be asked to be a keynote, but in particular, I think at the moment, I mean, e-assessment, people imagine it's something new, but obviously it has been around for a long time, but we are really beginning to show the importance of what we do now, the relevance of what we do and the value of it. So being able to bring something, I guess, to this conference as well from the academics view, from my particular positioning where I'm teaching people about this is, that's a real treat for me to be able to come along and bring my view and see what people think.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And thank you for agreeing to do it. It's terrific. So do you have anything on the burner at the moment in terms of what you're doing with assessment and maybe with your students?
I mean, I've always got lots of projects on, of course, far too many to mention and too many that I can actually work on. I've just finished the TIMSS report for England. And we obviously published that in December, and now we're actually working as a team to start looking into the data. Because as I always say to people, you do a big project like that, it takes 3 years. And actually, when you've written the report, you've actually only just begun, because the next bit is, well, what do we learn from that? And in e-assessment terms, it was very interesting because England was one of the countries that took part in e-TIMSS last time. So we actually gave tablets out to schools. People took them on tablets. All the marking was done online, etc. So I've done work with the coders and markers who worked afterwards, and we're going to be writing that up in the next year or so. And the other big thing that I think is most relevant to this conference that I'm really excited about is I've just started a project. I'm 6 months into that with Rose Clasham at Pearson, and we're looking at the test takers' responses and interactions with the PTE test of English. In particular, we're just interested at how you understand a test taker's experience of interacting with a computer and interacting with responsive AI technology that goes into their tests. Because there is actually very little about what it's like to be that person sitting in front of that computer. And so I'm attempting over the next couple of years to start cataloguing that and building up a picture for us all to understand what that's like.
Those both sound really fascinating things. I shall look forward to seeing the output of that. The tablet one sounds really interesting as well. So what have you been publishing recently, Mary?
Mainly as we academics do, journal articles. I'm just completing a book at the moment that's literally in the very last chapter editing phase, which is looking at public confidence in assessment. And then it is beautiful timing with what's happened. And the other work that came out that our members might be more interested in is does relate to what we call the future of examinations, thinking about how AI technology is interacting with the human context of the marker and the test taker.
Yeah.
So both of those things are out or forthcoming.
Oh, they sound really, really interesting. The confidence one always interests me, actually. Yeah. Oh, well, very good. And just lastly then, why should professionals in the sector join us on the conference and awards?
Well, first of all, it's a really nice conference. What I like about this conference, from having attended it in the past, is it's a small conference. So you get there, you're meeting lots of people, you start to feel a part of it very quickly. It's not like going to one of these enormous conferences that spread over hall after hall. You get to know people, but you also have those levels of particularity and expertise, and I think that's a really important part of it. I certainly, when I've been to this conference in the past, have been networking very comfortably, but also meeting people who are just really interesting and interested in what you're doing. So I think it's a great opportunity to catch up with others.
Thank you. And of course, this year we're going to be doing that networking electronically. And when you join the conference, you can be sitting around a table, you can move tables, you can do all that chatting with highly interesting people like us who are going to be there. So just a reminder to folks that this is the first of the sessions, 8th of June. Future is now, and we'll be presenting the best formative assessment project and best summative assessment project. Mary will be keynote speaker, and our CEO, ex-chair Matt Wingfield, will be looking after and running the conference. So we look forward to seeing you, Mary, and thank you again for agreeing to take part, and all the rest of you. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Bye.